this is an introduction lesson to you guys who's in grade 10, but it's going to be applicable to anybody wanting to know why is freehand drawings important. So I've got with me here a couple of sketches that was done by an actual architect, a friend of mine, Scott. Now, this is the building that we are currently in, for those of you who didn't recognize it. And these are copies of his original freehand drawings that he did in designing this school building. All right? He's an architect, a qualified architect. And where did he start? With a design. With taking a pen and a pencil and drawing freehand concepts. All right? And so, if I can ask you one question to the class, all right? Is there anything that you can think of that was made, manufactured, built, that was not first a drawing? Come up with anything that you can think of. That's produced, that's manufactured, that's built, that first wasn't a drawing. Nothing. Zip. Nothing in this world that you can buy, that you can use, that was manufactured or built, was not first a sketch. You can try it. Come up with the idea. You'll be the first one to tell me. Maybe if you're watching this in the comments, if you think there was anything made without a sketch, let me know and I'll check it for you. All right. Everything starts with a drawing, even a massive building like this. And so these were some of the initial drawings that was done for this building. You can see here very rough-handed sketches indicating basically which parts are classrooms, which part maybe is offices, and a general concept. And you can see how they actually progress from one design to the next. Let's have a look at another concept here. All right, so you can see the progression here. Now we're getting closer to what we have currently, but it's still not, of course, the final version. With that, there's some annotations that come, some coloring to help identify. Of course, on this one, it was the bigger site, okay, and some notes. So you can see how an architect uses this to think about lighting, to think about different elements in their design. My question to you is, why is this important for you now starting the journey in engineering, graphics, and design? Okay, because in this subject, there will be opportunities for you to also come up with various designs that's your own, that's thought out to meet a certain brief. If you look at this pad task, which I'm going to quickly show you, this is now a previous year's pad task of one of my students, and this is a freehand drawing, okay? And they had to design a conference facility. And so if I zoom in a little bit on this for you to just see this, and you'll see how this, of course, there's progression also in this, but you enter into a concourse area, you've got different meeting rooms on either side, you've got ablution facilities here on the top. It's a freehand sketch that's literally almost the last one in a progress of sketches done similar to this one. And this is then used in the end to provide a final working drawing that is done using actual instruments. And of course, these days, designers use CAD for that. Okay, but again, you can't start here when doing engineering, graphics, and design. You have to start at the freehand concepts. Why else would freehand concepts be important? Who can come up with the answer? Why else would you think, if you're being an architect firm and a client now asks you to come up with plans for a building, what would be the purpose of the freehand drawings? Okay, help me out. Why do you think? Yes? Yes, thank you so much. So you are showing the client a potential design. And this was exactly what Jacobus was doing with this, all right? Just a few initial sketches that helped us understand what the end will look like. Because we very early in it, we said, okay, no, this is not part, we don't like this opening up and this placement of the sports field here. So you had to rework it to place a sports field somewhere else, okay? So you're saving this architect time because he's not going straight into a master drawing. He's just sketching ideas, and you and the client have an interaction to get to a final concept that's something that you're both happy with before he starts on the bigger drawings that takes a lot more time and effort. Okay, so I'm just trying to introduce to you what is the purpose of freehand drawings. Okay, now in this lesson, those of you actually following the HSE textbook, workbook. We are on page 2.1 in this book, okay? And it is your first opportunity to use freehand drawing techniques. And they've really not given us much to work with. We've got a house on the one side and a face on the left-hand side. But this is just for you to start using your hands, to start getting that initial use of your freehand technique. So the simplicity of this is that we have to use freehand drawing techniques to copy this given figure. And they've given us some form of a grid here, and you can see here that the grid size, of course, at the bottom is much bigger. Okay, so there's going to be enlargement that happens going to the bottom. And so you're going to have to count the blocks here and use that. Now, of course, when you do a drawing like this, it's going to necessarily be initially just rough sketches. And you can see how, if we look at the line types, just look at the line types here quickly. That first one, you see the roughness of that. Okay? And then the progression to, so in where you are at the moment is this. These kind of sketches will happen on a separate page for yourself when you get to your actual designing, okay? But when we do freehand drawings in class, we want a more clearer outline for you, okay? So when we then go here, let's start with that. We're just going to start at the top of this, and it's practicing now to draw straight lines. So we're going to start. I always like to look at the first point. Let me maybe zoom in a little bit for you here. So I'm thinking there's the first point, there's the second point of my line that I'm going to draw, and that's going to help me draw a straight line to know where am I heading at. Okay, we do the same on this side, and try and do it in one continue. If it's not too long, you can do that one continue, and you need to be able to draw lines to both directions here. Okay, and at times you will also have to, of course, turn your pencil so that your point stays sharp. Okay, so you can just come with me now, and we're going to draw the square here on top. Try and stay on that line. Okay, you can see the adjustment there. If you do go over the line like I just did, let's just rub that out and try and keep this drawing as neat as possible. Okay. All right. Let's look at a circle, because there's two circles here that we have to do. So first of all is we will just double check the given question, and you can see the spacing at that circle there meets the middle of each square basically. So to help me there, I'm going to add, just say tick here, and a tick there, and a tick. That's going to help me to know where that circle needs to go. It's going to help it to be equal all the way around. You could do that same distance. You could add for yourself an additional point here if you want. You can. The big challenge here is, can you use a ruler? No. Okay. It might not be perfect, but try and have it as close to a perfect circle as you can. Going to do the same on the other side. Oops. Okay, one thing that I don't want you to do is what we call feathering. Okay, and I'll show you this with the nose here of our. So there's the top of it. Then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we've got 2 on either side. So there. And there. Okay, so there's a long straight line. Okay, and you can see again where it meets. Let's see if I can get this done. That's not bad, eh? And that one goes this way. I kind of have my midway point here that I want to not miss, so that helps me to get this one straight. That one is again easy. Right, then at the bottom there we've got a big smile. So you're just practicing your line technique. Make sure it's consistent all the way. Let me show you the feathering that I don't want. I don't want you to do this. So some do this, and then they do that, and that, and it kinds of, you know, I'm overemphasizing it now, but you can see it's short bursts of lines, or they just do something, I don't know. That's not what we want. That you can do in those freehand concepts that's off the page, that you just doodling a bit. But when you get to the pages that we will have to assess, we still want it freehand, but we want a good quality line, okay? Okay. All right, if you feel you're a little bit shaky, it's fine. You just need to relax your hand, rest your palm, have a good grip on your pencil, and at times just turn that pencil so that your point remains sharp. And if you get over the line, no, please rub it out and just redo it. Okay. Yes. Good job. All right, so we've got learners already finished with this one. If you finished on the left hand side, please go on to the right hand side. Okay, but it's helped you to understand where freehand drawings fits in, right? Has that been helpful for you to see the actual... Oh, hey, I'm going to be calling out your names here on YouTube Live if you don't answer me. Voel julle het iets geleer oor vrouensketse en die rede daarvoor, né? Alright, so there it is. I can zoom out a little bit. That's kind of what we're expecting for you to have as a final product. Okay, on the right hand side, we're going to move over to the house now. So again, just checking what is given there. 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks down. There's our triangle of that roof. And we're just going to find some points here of reference. Just almost testing the waters before I draw it. So the grid paper helps us to have our drawing proportionally sized, and when you do this with your pad task later, of course I will also provide you with a grid paper just to help you have good proportions. Okay, I just realized I spoke English the whole lesson, and we have some Afrikaans kids in the class. Goed, maar ek dink julle het dit redelik verstaan. Daar was nou nie iets niets wat ek vir julle moes verduidelik het nie. Anybody that's got a question with regards to freehand sketches, maybe something that you'd like to ask in the process of freehand sketches? Yes.
What do you grade on the freehand sketch?
Okay, great question. Okay, so what do we look at when we give marks? Alright, let me finish this one and then I'll tell you. Alright, so let's look at that was a good question. The question was, what do we look when we are grading a freehand drawing like this? Now, to be honest, there's a difference, of course, between these and when you do your pad task, and it's a much more complicated freehand drawing like the one that I'm presenting you here, okay? This one has a lot more criteria because you're also looking whether you have all the different components, there's measurements to be looked at, notes, etc. For grade 10, when we are grading these, we look at line consistency. In other words, is that line the same darkness from start to end? Are all the lines consistent on that? So it's individual lines. Is that line consistent? And then is it consistent with the lines around it? Okay. So die lyn kwaliteit is die lyn se donkerte of diepte dieselfde as die lyn langs hom en haar eie lyn is hy ook duidelik. Okay? Then we also look at whether you're accurate, because remember they're asking you to copy a drawing in this case. So is your lines exactly like the ones? So if you, for instance, had a mistake here, maybe the placement of the eye or the size of the nose, you would have been penalized. Okay, and then of course the scale with that plays a role. Is it still in the same proportion as the original? So that is a couple of things, and then just general neatness. Is your paper smudged? And sometimes if you rub out, it smudges on the side. So we want a clean piece of paper, so you're not penalized with neatness or tidiness. Okay, ons kyk na die lynkwaliteit. Ons kyk na of hierdie tekening ooreenstem met die gegewe, of jou skaal korrek is, of jou plasing korrek is. So hoe akkuraat is die tekening teenoor dit wat gegee is. Alright, that's your introduction to freehand drawings. You guys can go on to 2.2 and also smack that freehand drawing. Thank you for watching. Now it's your turn.